Picture this for a second. Everything you've ever heard about Jesus might just be a tiny piece of a much bigger picture. Beneath the well-known tales of miracles, the clever stories he told, the cross and the empty tomb, there's a layer most people never talk about. It wasn't designed to be blindly accepted. It was meant to be lived, felt, and known from the inside out. What if Jesus wasn't only here to rescue us from the outside, but to show us how to wake up the sacred spark that's already inside every single one of us? What if his real point wasn't look up to me, but look inside and find the same light I'm showing you? This isn't rebellion against faith. It's an invitation to the deepest core of what he actually said. By the time this video ends, the way you view Jesus and yourself will be forever different. The last truth we'll uncover is the one that flips the whole script on who you really are. Before we jump in, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and tell me in the comments what you think so far. What you're about to hear might shake the foundations of everything you thought was solid, but stick with me to the finish line, and I guarantee you'll see why mystics, ancient philosophers, and awakened teachers across centuries looked at Jesus and saw a living reflection of the limitless potential hiding in every human heart. Let's start with the simplest question. Who was Jesus, really? Not the polished version shaped by 2,000 years of committees and creeds, but the living presence who spoke in riddles, walked dusty roads, and boldly declared, "You are God's." For ages, thinkers, contemplatives, and truth seekers have peeled back the layers of his words to find something far more mysterious underneath. Take Elaine Pagels, the scholar famous for digging into the Gnostic Gospels. She showed that some of the earliest Christian writings carried a message way more mystical than what ended up in the official canon. Those texts paint Jesus as a revealer of secret wisdom, someone who arrived not to launch a new religion, but to spark an inner knowing. In the Gospel of Thomas, found buried in Egyptian sand after almost 2 millennia, Jesus says, if you bring out what's inside you, that very thing will save you. If you don't bring it out, it will destroy you. That's not talk of rescue from the outside. That's the language of inner change, of turning awareness into gold. Pause and let that sink in. Why would ideas like that get pushed aside? Why were some of the first people who followed Jesus labeled dangerous for saying the divine flame lives in every person? Could the real threat have been that a message like this dismantles control? It hands power back to the individual heart. Across history, quiet voices have spoken of Christ consciousness, a state where you realize you're not cut off from the source, the infinite, the eternal. Hermetic writings, penned centuries before Jesus walked, put it this way: as above, so below, as within, so without. Is it possible Jesus was simply restating that ancient law? When he said the kingdom of heaven is within you, he wasn't being poetic. He was describing a fact. The sacred realm isn't up in the sky. It's in the open heart of anyone awake enough to notice. Close your eyes and feel what that means. The same abilities Jesus showed, healing, forgiving, loving without limit, weren't meant to be put on a pedestal. They were demonstrations of what becomes possible when a person lines up completely with the divine current inside. Every miracle was a mirror held up to humanity saying, this is what you can do too. Could the real resurrection be less about one event 2,000 years ago and more about an ongoing process? The divine self rising out of the grave of forgetfulness? These aren't brand new theories. Meister Eckhart, a 14th century mystic, wrote, "The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me." He got in hot water for it, but the words echo the heartbeat of Jesus' message. The divine isn't separate from us, it's us, seeing clearly. As you listen, ask yourself, what if Christ isn't just a last name, but a level of awareness? What if Jesus came to prove that full awakening is possible right here in a human body, and every soul carries the exact same seed of light? In the minutes ahead, we'll line up his words with ancient Hermetic, Egyptian, and Eastern wisdom, and you'll see they all point to one universal truth. Each step builds on the last, and the final revelation ties the human and the divine together in a way that can rewrite your entire experience of being alive. Once you see it, there's no unseeing it. Imagine walking the sun-baked paths of Galilee, dust in the air, mystery thick, and hearing Jesus speak, not like a rule giver, but like a cosmic translator. Every story he told had two tracks, one for the crowd, one deeper for those ready to hear it. People close to him said his words carried a charge like the universe itself hummed through his voice. That wasn't just charisma. It was a higher frequency of awareness being transmitted. Thinkers like Rudolf Steiner and Paramahansa Yogananda described Jesus as embodying the Christ vibration, a divine energy beyond any single personality. It's the eternal logos, the organizing word that turns chaos into cosmos. The Gospel of John opens with the same line, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." That's a direct bridge between Hermetic cosmology and the spiritual identity of Christ. When Jesus said, "I am the light of the world," he wasn't claiming a solo spotlight. He was revealing that this light is the core of every being, the consciousness that powers every soul. He didn't come to hoard divinity. He came to remind us we'd misplaced ours. Early Gnostic groups, before they were silenced, taught that every person holds a spark of the same fire that burned in Jesus. They called it thought-pneuma, the inner knowing, the unbreakable link to the source. Awakening, that spark was salvation, not escape from punishment, but freedom from not knowing who you are. Think how disruptive that is. If people believe the divine lived inside them, fear-based control collapses. Guilt loses its grip. God stops being a far-off judge and becomes the very ground of your own being. Maybe that's why Jesus spoke in parables. The truth was too potent to hand out raw to anyone unprepared. He planted seeds in ready hearts, seeds that sprout only when the soul ripens. The mustard seed parable isn't just about faith, it's about awareness. A tiny seed, properly tended, grows into a huge tree. One moment of genuine insight can expand until it fills your whole inner sky. The kingdom starts invisible inside you and keeps growing until light is you. Every miracle carried the same double, meaning healing the blind wasn't only about eyes, it was about opening inner sight. The ability to see truth, turning water into wine symbolized base matter becoming spiritual essence, the exact process alchemists called the great work, and the resurrection. Esoterically, it's spirit winning over illusion, consciousness realizing it was never dead, only asleep. Picture Jesus' life as a living initiation ritual. Every act, every healing, every teaching was a stage on the sacred path. From sleep to wakefulness, a map any soul can follow. This pattern shows up in Egyptian mystery schools, symbolic death and rebirth to transcend ego and merge with divine light. The myth of Osiris, torn apart, put back together, risen, mirrors the Christ story. Both say the soul must let go of false identity before it can remember its true nature. But Jesus didn't stop at symbols, he lived the truth. He became the living bridge between earth and heaven, human and divine. When he said, "Follow me," he wasn't asking for blind loyalty, he was inviting transformation. Follow him into a state of being where heaven and earth overlap. Eckhart Tolle puts it like this: the resurrection of Christ is the rising of Christ consciousness inside each of us. Same ancient wisdom, fresh words. So how do you wake that up today? How do you step into what Jesus meant by the kingdom within? That's next. We'll walk the practical inner path from confusion to clarity, from limitation to boundless being. And the revelation coming up might be the one that rewires everything you thought you knew about yourself. Close your eyes. Let the noise fade until only pure awareness remains. Silent, vast, radiant. That's the space mystics have always called the kingdom. You don't earn it with rituals or beliefs. You meet it in direct experience. That's exactly where Jesus pointed. His words weren't about building walls between us and the divine, they were about tearing them down. He often slipped away to mountains or deserts, not to run from the world, but to tune in to the source in silence. That solitude was alignment. In stillness, he synced his awareness to the pulse of creation, and miracles became as natural as breathing. When you realize you're one with the source, reality reflects your clarity like light off water. Hermetic sages call this the great work, turning lead consciousness into gold awareness. To outsiders, it looked like literal metal changing. To initiates, it was always soul purification. Jesus lived every stage. Forgiving his killers was the final step. Ego dissolve, love absolute. To walk this path yourself, start with attention. Notice how often the mind grabs fear, anger, desire. Jesus called those demons, not outer monsters, but inner patterns that block truth. Casting them out was freeing awareness from ignorance. Early desert father Evagrius Ponticus wrote, "The demons are our own thoughts." Centuries before psychology, he saw Jesus' healings as inner liberations. Take up your cross and follow me isn't a call to misery. It's a call to the crossroads where matter horizontal meets spirit vertical. Awakening happens at that intersection, beyond duality, beyond life and death, in the eternal now. Every tradition says the same. Hindus call it Atman, realizing Brahman. Buddhists call it enlightenment. Hermeticists call it the marriage of above and below. Jesus called it the kingdom. How do you enter? Become like little children. Childlike innocence isn't naivete. It's perception, free of judgment, open, unburdened. Imagine a world where everyone got this. Wars lose meaning when you see the divine in every face. Religion stops being control and becomes reconnection. Even modern physics hints at it. David Bohm's implicate order, one undivided whole behind apparent separation. Jesus the Father, maybe science's unified field. Different words, same reality. I and the Father are one wasn't ego. It was unity spoken from the awake state. You are in me, and I am in you, extended the invitation to all. The tragedy? We worship the messenger instead of living the message. But the truth never vanished. It hid in symbols, whispered in mystical texts, burned in quiet hearts. From desert monks to Sufi poets, the story is identical. Union dissolves every barrier, Rumi said. I looked for God and found only myself. I looked for myself and found only God. You're not a seeker hunting. God, your awareness remembering itself. That remembrance is the rebirth. Jesus promised. The final revelation, the Father and I are one, isn't about Jesus alone. It's the awake state any soul can reach when separation falls away. Father equal to infinite source. I equal to your individual awareness. When the veil drops, only oneness remains. Pure consciousness animating everything. This was too dangerous for power structures built on fear. Yet mystics guarded it. St. Francis. What you are looking for is what is looking. God isn't out there. God is the essence, doing the looking. Every breath, every thought arises in that same field. The light of Christ isn't history. It's the living flame in your awareness right now. Remembering it is awakening. Living it is embodying Christ. Gnosis isn't belief, it's direct knowing. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free means the moment your soul recognizes its own divinity. Illusion shatters. The crucifixion, seen this way, is ego, death, and spirit rebirth. It is finished equal to the great work complete. Empty tomb equal to consciousness can't be buried. Every time you choose love over fear, you resurrect a piece of that light. Every act of kindness is a quiet miracle, pulling heaven closer. Quantum physics says observer and observed are one. Mystics knew it through experience. Separation is just unawakened perception. Jesus started prayer with our Father. Shared consciousness, no favorites. There is no other. Only the one dreaming infinite forms. What would your life look like lived from this place? Every person another face of the same essence. Fear, anger, sorrow, just waves on an ocean that's eternally still. This is Christ's invitation. Not worship, but becoming. When you forgive, you are the Christ. When you give freely, you are the Christ. When you see beauty everywhere, you are the Christ. The infinite playing as finite, divine dancing as human. That's the mystery no doctrine can box. The question isn't, was Jesus God? It's, can you recognize God looking out through your own eyes? Jacob Boehme, I myself am heaven and hell. Heaven equal to awareness of unity. Hell equal to forgetting it. The choice is yours every moment. Maybe the real second coming isn't a person returning. It's Christ consciousness rising in humanity. Revelation in the soul, not on a calendar. The light that walked Galilee never left. It waits inside, ready to rise. Breathe deep. You are not apart from the divine. You never were. The same current that moved through Jesus moves through you now. Open your eyes to that, and you'll never see Jesus or yourself the same way again. Thanks for staying with me.